Good day, friend.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, Christian.
Hey, we got to get a wellness check on you.
Oh, wow.
Why?
Yeah, right off the bat, because this is your lifeline. This team is your lifeline. This is my opinion. You know, you're so passionate about it. You do such a great job. Nobody covers a team like you do.
Good.
And I would say that I feel like sometimes I feel that you may take this the way this team is playing personally.
You know what? It's really funny you say that because I thought I think you and I are similar. We've been around it for so long. I started in 97. I was fortunate enough. I mean, I've only covered a 5-11 season in 2000 and a 7-9 season in 2020. And those are the only times the Patriots have been under 500 since I've been covering them. But I started following this team in 76 when they went 11-3 and were the best team in the AFC and could have won the Super Bowl that year. So they've crushed my heart for the first 25 years I followed them. And then I covered them, and you do become a little more detached and objective, certainly, but you want the team to do well. And more than anything, you want to be right in your analysis.
There
I want to be right in my analysis.
Yep.
And I think over the course of my time here, I've been right a wicked lot of the time.
Yeah, and I would say
usually get it right.
Yeah, and I would
and
say
this year I'm friggin' wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're similar. Because I'm trying to think, where did I go wrong? And I believe, like, similarly to what I thought the Patriots felt and ownership felt, like this was at least at its worst a 9-win season. At the best, like, hey, listen, and you know, a game away from winning 11, but I thought they could easily get 9 to 10 wins, and they're so far from that. I'm almost like amazed at how far away they are going to be from 9 or 10 wins.
And looking at why is interesting. Okay, what did we get wrong? Well, we overestimated, I think, the impact of Bill O'Brien. I overestimated the notion that you would have a complement of players who could play at a level that I presume the Patriots had scouted them and recruited them to play at. For instance, Juju wouldn't be a massive drop-off from Jacoby Myers. Devontae Parker could give you a representative effort. Tyquan Thornton could be, up to the quote-unquote challenge. Ramondre Stevenson would be Ramondre Stevenson. And I expected an offensive line that would have 5 answers and 1 question mark, and it hasn't been that. And as a result, you've got a quarterback who's regressed in his decision-making because he's somewhere between panic and trying to make a play. Hence, you have a team that averages 14.8 points per game, second worst in the NFL. How much does strength of schedule enter into it? They're the only team over a 600 winning percentage of opponents against, 645. How much does injuries enter into it? Some, but they stink. And I didn't think they'd stink. I thought that they would I thought that the guy you look at and say, well, when he's good, he's going to be this. And I presume they'd all be good. And they're not that.
Well, I think the one thing for me, Tom, as Christian and I kind of workshopped it yesterday, and I know that Christian was kind of with me on this, is that I thought they would be really good at running the ball and would be a top 10 team running it, given what we saw last year, the O-line returning, and you had Ramondre and Zeke. And to me, not having the balance in the offense, and really, Bill O'Brien, for as much as Christian and I were talking about Billy O, it's the whole, what can you call that you can really trust? You've had no line that's been inconsistent in terms of pass protection. And if you get skunked on first down and you're in 2nd and 11, you don't want to run the ball. And to me, that is the most glaring thing with this offense is, you mentioned Ramondre being Ramondre. Hell, there is no running back right now that is doing anything inside this offense. And to me, that might be the most shocking thing of all, because I thought on a real baseline, they'd be able to do that and line up and knock people backwards.
The weird thing, though, is they have in games. At moments. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just saying at moments, which is the sucker pin, to use a golf phrase, for all of us, for the Christian Fouriers, for the Tom Currans, for all of us who go, I think this team might be pretty good. And you see them run the ball against the Jets. You're like, see, figured it out. All right,
Yep.
that's what I thought they were.
And then
no, it doesn't happen. It's weird too because they are so poorly equipped to play any style of offense. And I do think one of the under-examined aspects to this offense is they have no third down or sub back. They used to have multiples of those. They used to have Rex Burkhead as a semi-sub back. They would have Sony Michel as their main back. And then they would have James White as their true sub back. They don't have a sub back, so nobody comes available quickly. Ramondre Stevenson might be one of the slowest route runners I've ever seen in my life. The way that he gets out into a pattern is glacial, and you can't have it. He's a good pass receiver, but he's just so slow. And then there's no true slot, although they're trying to develop Demario Douglas. But I look at 2022 and Bill and the team saying, we're going to reconfigure the offense. We're going to pare it down. We're going to make it simpler. We're post-Josh. We're post-Tom. Let's make it more amenable to these kids and what they're doing coming out of college. Matt Patricia goes, yeah, I can do that. We'll run the Shanahan stuff. We'll go draft Cole Strange and Bailey Zappi and Tyquan Thornton. And who else was the other guy? Oh, Pierre Strong. We'll bring these guys in. By August, they realize they can't do it. So you waste a draft. You waste the time. You waste a year of Mac trying to pivot an offense, and now you're in 2023, and you're betwixt and between as to what you're going to be, and you don't have personnel. That's why they're averaging 14.8 points per game. They don't know who the frig they want to be.
So, Tommy Curran with us, and great stuff, Tom, per usual, buddy. And this is fun. I was thinking about this, Sunday night when I was working with Rochi. And, look at this. Look at the schedule, how easy it is. Look how what a great schedule. Oh, man, they'll win these games easy. Washington, Indianapolis. And my question to him was like, based on what? Like, what have you seen that leads you to believe that is it just arrogance that you, meaning fans or whatever, and not you particularly, that you're better than the Commanders or that you're better than the Indianapolis Colts? Like, I mean, for me, none of these games are locks. They're all challenging in their own right. There's not a team in the league right now that they can just roll in and beat. I'm curious to know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think we're suckered by the fact that they were so competitive against the Eagles in the opener and then for a while against the Dolphins. And then I think that we say, well, that wasn't them against the Cowboys and the Saints. That wasn't them. That was a bad day. They were hungover. I mean, what can you do? It's not their fault. But even look at that Jets game, and they're holding on by a fingertip, and they get shredded on a late drive by Zach Wilson to bring the Jets within, a hair's breadth, because at the beginning of the second half, their offense just folded in on itself. So you're right. There are no layups. This is a team that has the 4th overall pick right now. They may well still wind up in the top 5. So the question now becomes, to me, and I'm going to talk about this on Quick Slants tonight, and we're going to talk about it for months going forward. Do you want Bill Belichick to be the one in charge of a top 5 pick and a top 35 pick, perhaps in the second round, and $100 million worth of cap space? Do you want him in charge of that? Do you want him setting the course for this team when he's had the ability to set the course and make $172 million worth of decisions in 2021 and come back with Nelson Aguilar and Jonnu Smith and the draft decisions that he's made? Do you want Bill in charge of the draft decisions at wide receiver when it's Tyquan Thornton and N'Keal Harry, who are the guys that he drafts, and the ones who succeed for him, like Jacoby Myers or Demario Douglas, he either ships off or gets in the 6th round or brings in undrafted? So do you want Bill to continue to make the decisions for your offensive team? I would say no, period.
Then you got to let him go.
Pretty much.
But if that is also the case, then if that's the way you feel, then the whole trade deadline, you're not
doing anything.
You're not doing anything,
then.
right?
I think the trade deadline is such a red herring circus. I mean, the Patriots were the only team worth covering for a long time at the trade deadline, whether it was Van Noy or Talib or who were the fellas they got back in 2014, Gresh, the kid from the Giants, Jonathan Casillas.
Oh, my God. I forgot about that guy. Good grief.
Akeem. He was a nice guy, pass rusher.
Akeem Hicks? Akeem Nicks?
No, it wasn't him. I got the wrong Akeem.
Oh, okay. Akeem Olajuwon. Good field goal blocker. Anyway, I understand. I understand your point. It's those veteran guys that were going for like 4th, 5th, and 6th rounders versus like Montez Sweat, who just got flipped to the Bears for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, it's like, who do you want to add? Like, Montez Sweat's a valuable player. Who on the Patriots is like Montez Sweat? Uche isn't. Uche had one season of production, and it came over a 4-game period. I like Uche. He's a miscast here, obviously. The team has not used him enough, but he has a unique skill set. He could be a cog, but he's not going to get you a second. No way. Nobody's going to look at 10 games of Josh Uche and say, okay, we'll take 10 games of him for a player that we could get in the 2nd round and have 4 years of control over. That's what teams have to really address when they're looking at the trade deadline. I'm going to give something up here for a player with most likely an expiring contract. So I'm buying 10 games of this player instead of drafting someone in the 2nd round or the 4th round or the 5th round who might have relevance for me for 4 years. So 10 games versus 4 years. That's why the trade deadline, to me, is just shipping problems around the league sometimes.
So what do you think about this week before we let you go? Is this one of those weeks where, just like I mentioned earlier, they playing at home, 1 o'clock, need to get to 3 wins. And off that, is there a difference between a Patriot team that wins 3 games and a Patriots team that wins 6 games?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's how does it look? I think that the potential here, like a couple weeks ago, the potential was great for it to be an exciting day. It wasn't likely, but to do what they did, the potential was outstanding. You beat Buffalo. My God, people give me swinging from the rafters. And they were. And it was great. Best win they've had at that stadium since 2018. If the Patriots go out and they beat Washington, 22-13, people aren't going to be that into it. They're not going to be swinging from the rafters. And if they lose in a place where there's probably going to be plenty of good seats available, they lose that game, people are going to be voting with their vocal cords as to what they think of the team, and the crafts will be sitting through that.
Here come the boos.
Yep, tough. So it's important that they don't lose. It's not important that they win.
Do boos really matter? I mean, really?
I think it does.
Do you think Robert?
Yeah,
do you think,
I think it
do you
does.
think Robert has a sad when he goes home and says to his new wife, "Oh, they booed us today"?
It's a bigger conversation, but I do think they are listening.
How do my customers feel about what we've got? That's where he's not sitting there looking at a Twitter poll. How do you like the Patriots today? That's how the customers feel.
No, but does he
visceral?
But does he? And I get all that, but do you think he sits there and goes, "Man, we've only got 20,000 people on the backup season ticket list. If these people bail, my God, we've only got 20,000 in line."
I promise you, yes, it is a priority. All of that is a priority. They're running a business, and if they can't get people in the seats to watch the team, that means they're not going to get advertisers to buy in as well. It impacts everything, and all of us have benefited greatly from the success of the team, but economically, things would be changed if this team descends into unwatchability and not being an interesting team. So, yeah, they absolutely watch all of it.
We'll have to get back into that a little later in the year with our friend Tommy Curran of NBC Sports Boston. Tommy will be with Jones and Mego on Thursday, and of course with us on WEEI Football Sunday. Tommy, thank you, friend.
All right, great stuff, guys. Thank you.
There we go. I just kind of, again, people are going to boo. If 5,000 people say, "Oh, I'm done with my season tickets," well, you cut into supposedly 5,000 on the waiting list.